Hi guys, how are y'all today? I hope everybody's doing well. Good to see you, Yvonne. Good to see you, Joyce. Thanks for saying where you're from. I do appreciate that. I hope everybody had a great weekend. I had a blazing fast weekend in Northeast Pennsylvania, which is interesting enough, in the northwest corner of Pennsylvania. So good to see y'all. Thanks for popping in. So, not many questions came through this week, but a couple did. One of those was file associations. So, when you go to a new computer, basically the last program that you load will load the file type, especially when it comes to software, embroidery software. Whatever program is the last program that you load is where it tries to go. And if it doesn't have a clear path to it, then it doesn't necessarily know. So I'm going to show how to change your file association for you. If you want it to go to PE Design, if you want it to go to BES, you would choose that program. It's the same process regardless of which program you choose. So you just need to know how to change the file association. Here we go. So I have a PES file. Mine is associated with my PE Design, but if it wasn't, I would right mouse click on it and choose Open With. And if you don't see your program located here, I would say choose another app. Usually I would choose another app anyway so that I can choose the always. If you do not see it listed in this area, you can say browse an app on your PC. So I'll choose browse an app on my PC and it takes me into my program files. For PE Design 11, it will be in Program Files x86, Brother, PE Design 11, and then you want to go to EMBEIDET, excuse me, I can't say it, EMBEDIT, Embroidery Edit.exe. If you don't see the .exe after it, that's fine. Just the embroidery edit, EMBEDIT, and say open, and then say always. That associates it with that program for now and for always. So now any PES files that I open will open up in my PE Design. If I had wanted it to go to BES instead, I'll have to reassociate it, but go ahead and go Open With. I'm going to choose another app and we'll choose BES4 and I'll say always. And now when I double click on it, it's going to open up in my BES. Now, the difference is with BES, if I do it that way, it's going to kind of confuse it. So let's go ahead and close my BES so that it will open it up. And be thinking of your questions while we're doing this. Are you going to go or not? Play nice in the sandbox with me. It is not liking my BES. So I'm going to go back to PE Design. And I'll say always. So now there it goes. It did not like my BES option. But that's how you change the association. This next one is from, thanks, Gemma. I appreciate that. The next one is, I believe, from Robin. And Robin wanted to know, evidently I must have done a live at some point where I showed sample files from the program. So if I go to my From box and I choose Sample, we have Cutwork Designs, and then you have a drop-down menu, and there are various sew types down here at the bottom. And I believe it was a program when I was talking about splitting a design. So these are the various sew types. If you do not see those there, then you have somehow deleted them out of your My Documents folder. So here I am on my desktop in Documents, and I'll scroll down to PE Design 11. And under Sample, you'll see Layout and Editing. And under Layout and Editing, that's where they're located. If you don't see those there, Robin, then you have probably deleted them somehow. You can go and download the program again and reinstall it and see if they'll pop up for you then. So how do I get there? Let me open up a new browser window here. And let's go to support.brother.com. And we'll do our product search and we'll choose PE Design 11. All right, so when you choose downloads, it'll find your operating system automatically. You should not have to choose. This is the update software. If you press the show all, this is the full version software that will allow you to reinstall the entire program. I would uninstall first and then reinstall, and that should give you your files back. Okay. That's the only way to get the full that's where you'll find it. You will have to update your software after that because we are now at 1.31, excuse me, 11.31. So you're going to have to update it after you reinstall it, but uninstall first and then reinstall the whole program. All right. Those were the only questions that, yep, those were the only two questions that came through. So any other questions for me this week? Those were the only ones that popped in, shockingly enough. How to file associate and where do you find those files? I'm going to give you a second. Pardon the mess behind me. My husband is working on setting me up a way to put my lights above me instead of having them on stands, because having them on stands is a pain in the patootie. I trip over them and I've broken many things. All right, let me see here. Yvonne, if you create your own folder in PE Design 11 for user-defined text and load it in with my font creator one letter at a time into that folder, will it still work? No. You have to have, if you're doing a UD font, in order to use it as typing, all characters have to be within one item. So if I'm understanding I'm not real sure where you're going with this, but you're talking UD fonts, not font mapped, correct? So if I'm understanding you, this is the way you have to go. If I go back into options and I choose font creator program, let me bring it over here. If I go file, create new font, that's where I would go, and I say convert from true type font. So you don't want to map one letter at a time. They'll map one letter at a time here, but you want to make sure that you do each letter. So you want to make sure that each letter is converted. Otherwise, when you try to use it as a font, it won't work. So I'm going to come in here and do each of these letters. All right, so up to K is good for me for right now. Now you can always come back and work on them later, but I'm going to do save as here. And if I go Yvonne 3. Oh, yeah, multiple import instead of, yeah, it should. Mine's just not letting me import multiple import here. So I'm not sure. Let's do file new. Convert from true type font. multiple import is only for, what am I trying to say? Font mapping. So it's not for converting. You do have to convert these one at a time, okay? So the multiple import only works with the font mapping system. It's not for converting all of them at one time. All right, let's see here. There is not a hoop size recommendation for the undersewing. But what I would say, Sandra, is if they are becoming too dense, you might try converting with, what am I trying to say? My brain is lost here. Hold on. Let me pull in a design, and maybe my brain will get back on track. Okay, so let's say I decided to resize this. Instead of using my control key for resizing, I can choose resize, keep density and fill pattern, and let's adjust that to about 3 inches and preview it. Okay. When you click OK, you should be all right. If it is too dense, then depending on if it's all too dense or just parts of it are too dense, and mine didn't convert very well right there. I would divide, if everything didn't convert well, I would go ahead and just convert to blocks. If it were only parts of it, like for me, it's this green that didn't work very well, I would divide by color, and then I would select the part that I don't want, and I would convert that to blocks. You can change the sensitivity of that. Coarse should give you less dense, I believe it is. And let's see, 830 stitches. So let me undo that and we'll go back and do it again. Let's convert to blocks and let's go to find, and let's say okay. So fine, actually I guess it's fine, does it less dense. But having said that, you may not find that to your liking. So there, you can actually play with it. Convert to blocks. I usually leave mine at normal, to be perfectly honest with you. And then I'll go into my sewing attributes. And if I need to add undersewing to it, I'll add undersewing. If I need to change the density, I can change the density to the defaults to try to get less dense. Defaults are going to be a good density solution for you in general. And then I could close up my section here. Why didn't it grab that one? That's interesting. There we go. I personally would get rid of that piece right there and adjust this one to make it work. Okay, so you're not talking UD font, you're talking font mapping. Those are two different things, okay? Does that make sense to you, Sandra? All right, so let me go back over to font mapping again. Oh, I didn't mean to close my program. Oh, well. New mapping font. Set standard height from embroidery character. So let me come over here. And usually you want to use the capital M. Now I'm going to go in and find one that's built into the software because I do believe I deleted yours from last week. Since I did not purchase it, I did not feel comfortable keeping it. So let's see here what we've got in fonts. My fonts. So normally you would come in and you would select the M as your standard character. Okay. Now you should see multiple import and single import at that point. When you touch multiple import, it will grab everything at the same time. You can then choose import. Now everything that's in there should be mapped automatically for you. So all of those are in there for me now. And then I'm ready to go. And if you want to double check, it shows you what it mapped. Okay. So let me see if I emptied my purged file. Hold on. Yeah, and try watching again tomorrow or go back out and come back in because it looks like everybody else is seeing me. Let me see what is, if that, okay, here we go. I can restore that. So, and Linda's saying, is your sound turned off at the bottom of the taskbar? I'm going to go up and choose new font mapping again. I'm not going to save those changes that I just did. And we'll set the character height from the standard character. So I'm going to go in here and find where I saved that to. D drive. And it should have restored your folder for me. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to go hunt for the M and say okay. So now multiple import. Here they are. It's selected them all and choose import. They're there. I can say close. And now when I go down here, if I look at the A, because yours were all named lowercase, they're there. So, I mean, that's you got to know how your character, what am I trying to say? You have to know how your characters are saved. So if I go into my D drive and I go find your file folder that you're looking at, they are all lowercase. Okay. So since they're named lowercase, when I go to look at it, when I go to multiple import, I need to scroll down to lowercase. This automatically took me there because I selected my character. So let me do new again and show you. If I do new font mapping, and this time, so notice there's nothing up there. I'm going to scroll down through and find something because they're in your lowercase section. Now it's found them. We'll say okay. And then you should be able to hit the multiple import. It's when you set that character standard height. If you did not choose that, let me do file, new font mapping. Maybe you're doing something different and you just say, we're going to say 100 millimeters. If I choose multiple import, then it is still there. Let me go back and hunt. I'm just trying to trick it to see something else. I can't make it not work. So it's selected all of the characters in the character map. If I do single import and I do A import, then I've only got the A. If I do B, then I've only got the B. Oh, wait. But then you're having to go and do this. So then if I hit multiple import, I can't make it not work. So if I select them all, they're there. So there's something there's something going on with your computer. I mean, I honestly don't know what else to tell you. I can't make it not work. It's there for me, and it should be there for you if all of your characters are in the same file folder. It should work. And then you should be able to use it as a regular font. Okay. She found those fonts. Those are Anita Good. That's an Anita Good design font. Yeah, you're welcome. I just can't make it not work. So I don't know what you're doing different. The only way I could evaluate that is to look at your computer. Um, I mean, perhaps next week I can do a Zoom with you, but that's the only way I'm going to be able to figure it out is to see what you've got on your computer. Usually I can play with it and figure it out, but I can't through Zoom. I can't take control of your computer. So I don't know. There may be another way. I don't have that program on my computer anymore to be able to do that. Okay, guys, any other questions for me today? Otherwise, it's going to be a really quick lesson. Um, it could very well be it could very well be Ann, because it looks like everybody else has got sound, and so we're not. It's not just. It's not something on my end. Thankfully, this time I have got the correct microphone, so everything's good on my side today. Uh, y'all are quiet today. All right. Well, let's do a little plan before I sign off. Why would I want to font map would be kind of one of those things that I should tell you. So, font mapping allows you to use PES font files that you've purchased as keyboard lettering. So, if I come in and I choose my Yvonne 2 font file and I type in ABC in lowercase, because remember, hers were mapped in lowercase. This allows me to use them in the manners that most every other one will allow me to use. So let me come in here and let's change my font, my hoop size to a big old honking hoop here. There we go. What can I do with this now? Well, if I want it to fit text to path, I can draw myself an oval, turn off my fill stitches or my outline stitches, and then I can select it and I can choose fit text to outline. When I set it on top, it's going to arc. So it allows you to manipulate your text in the way that you manipulate other text. It gives you those same controls as far as I've got a little point in the center. I can move things closer together. I can use my kerning and space things further apart. It gives me those same options. Um, what will it not do? Let's see what it will. I haven't tried this. Let's see. Let's release text from path. And let me delete my circle. What I don't think it will let you do is transform, but we'll see. It does let you transform along an arc. So you can do both arcs, but that's it. You can't do the other pennants or anything else. All right. So an applique inside a shape, for example, a circle with an applique apple in it. All right. That's pretty simple. If you have a circle, I don't know, I don't know what kind of an outline stitch you want, but you decide what kind of an outline stitch you want. I don't know if you want to fill in there, but if you want an applique apple. That's about the saddest looking apple ever. Let's see if we can adjust it to make it look prettier here. All right, I'll live with that. It's close enough for government work. Sharing that is not nice. um, okay, so let's see here. Do I have a leaf in here that I don't, to where I don't have to draw a leaf? Yes, I do. So let's see here. Let's draw us a leaf. And let's rotate that. All right. So here are my applique parts. We're going to select them. And I'm going to go home and I'm going to say Applique Wizard. We're going to replace, we're not going to add. Okay, there we go. We have our applique. Now, I may have something looking a little ugly there, but not too bad. Okay. Now, I don't want my overlaps to show. So let's ungroup this whole kit and caboodle first of all so that we can play with it. We need to select the whole thing and ungroup. And then select the parts. Make sure they're not grouped. They're not. Okay. So what do I want to stitch first? Do I want the apple to stitch first? Yes, probably so. Actually, the stem I would want to stitch first. So I would take it, move it to where it's sewing first. And I would take my the tack down stitch and the covering stitch, and I would decide where I want to open them. And I would say, I would bring this down just a little bit and I'd right mouse click and say split at point. And then I'd come down here, move it a little bit, maybe. Right mouse click, split at point. Now I can delete that covering stitch. So now let's go and see what else we've got. This one right here would be my next one to delete. So I would do the same thing, move it to where I want it to be split. Right mouse click, split at point. Right mouse click, split at point. Now when I look at that, here's my bottom piece. Let's select it and delete it. And I would make those two a different color. So let's say we want those to be brown. There we go. Now my little tack down stitches there, I've got a couple hanging out down below. I'd move them in. That way I get a full cut piece, but my covering stitches are not going to be too deep. So now my apple, I want my leaf on top. So I'm going to do the same thing for my apple. Let's make these two red so y'all can see them. Okay, so now let's do the top piece first. And select point, and I would put an edit node right there. I'd add one in, and I'd add one in probably right there. Split at point, split at point. So there's my little extra piece, and we'll delete it. And I do the same thing for the undersewing. Split at point. Oops. and delete it. But now my fabric's still going to be there. It's just that it's not going to have so much bulk underneath it. And let's change that to green so y'all can kind of get the concept. I might futz around with this a little bit as well, but that's the idea. Boy, that is about the ugliest apple I think I've ever seen in my entire life. Okay. Do you have to draw it? In order to create an applique, it's best if you draw it. I'll be honest. You don't have to necessarily draw it if you have an apple that you can auto punch. So actually, there is one in here that I could auto punch. Let me delete my apple. So let me go to image, auto punch. Here's an apple. And I'm going to create lines from the black there. We'll say finish. All right, so now you should be able to take this minus that little line in the center. I don't know if that's going to work or not. Oh, I can't split at point unless I ungroup. Okay, that is the most common mistake that I make is I try to split at point and it won't let me because it is still grouped. Now it should let me. There we go. So I would want to attach this to this, I think. But it's not going to let me. Okay, split at point. So now, let's see. Applique Wizard. Nope, it's not going to let me. So you're better off if you draw it yourself or if you have one that is definitive sections. So let me just, what happened to my red? Let me see. Let's try that again. We'll just do it this way. And let's ungroup. Okay, so I'm going to grab my red. I'm going to say Applique Wizard, and we'll say OK. And then we'll come and grab the green, Applique Wizard, and we'll say OK. And evidently we've got quite a bit going on in that spot. I would probably undo that one and see what I've got. Oh, that's why. You see all those little holes there? I would delete those sections. Oh, fiddle-dee-dee. That was the whole part. Now that green will work. What did I just do? Oh, okay, let's get rid of some of the parts that were added. And we're going to get rid of the things that are not stitched. Now this should work. There you go. So it really depends on it, okay? It really depends on what you're working on. So let's see here. Yeah, now if you will, you do kind of have to, you do kind of have to do it yourself. It needs to be things that you've actually created. Now, if you have problems drawing and the applique wizard doesn't work for you, there is another way around it. Let's go. I mean, and the auto punch doesn't work for you. If you go to options, design center, I can use that same artwork. I'm going to grab this file from file, and here's that same clip art. And we'll have it draw from, find an outline right there, the black. And there we go. So I'm going to send it to figure handle, and we'll say, okay. Oh, undo that. Let's go back to line image. Yes, I want to delete all the editing. I do want to get rid of this. So I would take my eraser tool and I would erase this, because that's going to give me more trouble than it's worth. Or I can do this part right like that. There we go. And I'm going to get rid of that. All right, now let's go to figure handle and let's increase our thinning process and click OK. Now that looks a little bit better. Okay, you can come in and you can adjust the nodes to where it looks a little bit prettier than what we've got here. If you feel like you need to adjust anything, you can certainly do that here. But we're going to say we're good. Now, put in you some color. So region, let's pick a red. And let's pick a brown. And let's pick a green. So send it to layout and editing. Now, here's the important part of this one. Choose as outlines instead of stitches, because that's as if we drew it in here. Now you can say import. And you can get rid of that outline if you want, or I can leave my little line right there in, which is probably what I would do, and I would get rid of these pieces. Now I can come in and let's ungroup, or actually let's just do the whole thing at one time. Applique wizard. And we'll say pull, actually it's going around it because it's grouped, ungroup. So let's grab these three parts, select it, go home, applique wizard, and replace. There you go. You've pretty quickly got an applique button, applique created there without too much effort. Like I said, I would have probably played with it a little bit more in my design center to perfect my outline with my edit nodes, but that keeps me from having to draw it. So if you're not good at drawing, that is kind of auto punch with ultimate control. Okay. So that gives you that extra control. You're doing it with applique, you're really doing a basic shape. So that's a good place to go with it. If it's real intricate, it's not going to convert to an applique real well. So, appliques tend to be more basic than your other designs. So that's an easy way to do to turn it into an applique without having to draw it yourself. Yep, you do have to replace. You can't, if you add it, it's going to add it around the outside edge. But if it's a built-in, and you could have converted it to blocks. So did you see one in here that's built in? I don't recall having an apple, but that doesn't mean that there's not one in here. Now let's see here, foods. We do have fruits. So if you were trying to do this one's a little bit, it's a tiny little thing, first of all, but that one would not convert well, just simply because of the way it is. There's just too much there. So that's not a good fit for you. There's a tomato. It's a teeny tiny tomato. You're better off doing the one I just showed you how to do. Yeah, Beverly, that one's teeny tiny. So what you could, and there's so many colors within it. You have multiple colors within it, but what you could do is convert to outline, convert parts to outline. And then I would get rid of this right here. Then this thing can be resized. Oh man. That is just one ugly honking apple. I would not do that one. That's just not a good apple to do it. Okay. There are quite a few different edit notes. So let's grab a heart. And this only relates in layout and editing. In Design Center, there is one style of node and one only. If I go back to figure handle, I have basically a single style. There's not a curve. There's not anything like that. It is a single style. So layout and editing is the only one that this comes into play with. When I select point, if I right mouse click and I say to straight, straight means it's going to be straight from point to point. Okay. Curve means it's going to have a curved node, and it will have each side of the wing will do a little bit something different. Now, if you right mouse click and you say to symmetry, you can only use symmetry in a curved mode. When you pull one side of the curve in, the other side, you'll notice how those wings work together. They're symmetrical. Each side changes at the same amount. Smooth allows you to adjust one side stronger than the other or less. So see how it only adjusts one side of that angle. And cusp allows you to do each side independently. That's what this one was originally. So it lets you turn your corners. Each side gets adjusted independently. Totally. Okay. Those are your different notes. All right, guys. Let's see here. Where are you going exciting today, Leanne? I saw that you were headed someplace. You're going to the museum? All right. Other questions, guys? And Linda, I'm glad you figured it out, but I'll go ahead and show that just in case somebody else does it. Oh, I love Brisbane. Hold on a second. So if you happen to move things off, I don't know how y'all do this, but y'all do, and you can't get them docked back where you want them to go. Now, there is a way to redock them. So if I come and grab one, I can come and take it over to the right-hand side, and it'll do it. But if you look there, it's going to cover the bottom. I don't know if you can see that, but it was covering the bottom of my section. So here in the center, there's this little guy right here that allows me to dock those two elements together, and I'll dock that one with them, and I'll dock this one with them. Now I can take this one and put it on this right-hand side, and now it's back in place. Having said that, if you can't get that done yourself, and if they're, if they're all separated and you can't figure out how to get them or you lose them, you can go up to the options pull down menu and choose options. And choose user interface setting, reset pane position. And say okay. And it tells you that you're going to, after you restart the program, they'll be back docked in place. All right, as long as they were still turned on. So now I'm going to close my program, and I'm going to open it back up, and they will be back in their happy location that they're supposed to be in. And you can see them. They're all back docked in the right spot. Beverly, I don't have something specific to PE Design 11. I've addressed all of the new features in 11 through lives. I do, however, have one for 10. All of the basic features are the same. It's the new features that are different. And like I said, I have tried to address all of those in live videos that we've done. And if you have any questions, you're more than welcome. I answer them all the time here. Auto punch is used for turning simple artwork into embroidery. Think of it as my design center on the embroidery machine. There's not a lot of control that you have. I personally am not an auto puncher unless it's something that I know, it just depends. I personally create my own, but I would, if you don't want to mess with things a lot and it's a simple piece of artwork, auto punch is a good route to go. If you're trying to do logo work, it is not the answer. Logos are, people are looking for their font and not something that's been auto punched. So it's depends on how fussy you are. If you want something to be done quickly and you don't care, then auto punch may be your route to go. It's kind of your one-click wizard. It's your, I can get something done in a heartbeat kind of thing. So if I go to image and I go to auto punch, let's see what else I've got in here. That is one interesting cat. You can pick your thread chart that you want to use. And y'all know I'm a brother embroidery kind of girl. There you go. So it's quick, simple, and easy, and it's done. If you are worried about angles and in and out, then, this may not be your way to go. Having said that, after I've auto punched it, I can come in and I can change my angles. I can come in and play with things. You can change stitch types. But not everything is going to convert well. You just have to kind of keep that in mind. I wrote a playbook. I'm not going to write a new one. No, there's the one that I wrote works for this one as well. And I wrote that for Brother, so I don't own the rights to that content. They do. Therefore, I would be plagiarizing myself in a different book. So I'm kind of SOL there. That unless they hire me to do another one, I'm kind of out of luck. I don't know what to tell you. I'll have to, there's only so many hours in the day also, and that's not high on my priority list. I have not asked. So, yeah, I mean, you'll get better results if you do it yourself, honestly, because you can refine the edges. You're not going to be, it just really depends on what you're going to do. No, the software does not remove the overlap from the under letter. And I understand what you're saying, but you can do it yourself. Okay. Where I'm assuming, Cindy, you're talking P Design 11. If not, let me know. All right, so let's say I grabbed these nodes and I moved them down and then I moved them over. And I don't want the under part of that C to stitch, okay? If I come in and I go to my text tool and I say convert to stitches or convert to blocks. Convert to blocks may be, let's see. Let's do convert to blocks first and ungroup. Now I should be able to grab the let's change the eye to a different color so that we can see it. Well, fiddly-do. I should be able to grab that part and grab the C part, but let's just grab these two pieces. Modify overlap, and let's see if we remove overlap, what happens. The overlap is gone. So it did remove the overlap, but it also adjusted the angle of that stitch. So I would probably come back in here and select that and right mouse click and say add direction line. Come in and add myself some direction lines. See how that did us a lot better of a job. Now it's following the curve like it was before. Oh, it doesn't like that one. Let's just do this. Ooh, weird. I may have a little bit of work to do here, but and let's change our entry exit point there. Interesting. I'm not sure what that little line is. Ah, it's that right there. We don't need that. There you go. So some work to be done, but it is doable. And now let's turn those eyeballs back on. So not as easy, but the other way that you could possibly do it, that you might find is if you, let's delete that too. Delete. I would probably do this instead. I'm holding my shift key down to get all of those at one time, and I'm going to move them, and I'm going to move this over the top of this. Okay. So you can then come in, and let's change this color of this one, just so you can see the difference. Now, text convert to stitches. And then stitches divide by color. Okay, so now you can come in and grab this little guy right here, go to your stitches tab, your split stitches tool, and let's zoom in. And let me go back to my split stitches tool and snip around what I don't want and delete it. Now, that's no longer underneath there. Okay. So that's your workaround. I think that one's easier than the remove overlaps. Split stitches tool is sometimes your best friend. Just let you snip around something and get rid of it. You just convert to outlines first. Okay, and it's going to take everything out from underneath it. Okay, guys, if there is nothing else, I'm going to say goodbye for the day. It is time for a dog walk. Right, Miss Princess? Dog walk in the rain today. Yay, raw. All right, you guys. Have a great rest of your day. Be sure and send in your questions. If you are going to be at Tomorrow's Treasures this weekend, I will see you there. If not, I'll see you next Tuesday. Y'all have a wonderful rest of your week and a great rest of your weekend, or a great weekend. Talk to you later. Bye.